I really wanted to be a hairstylist. One of my favorite looks on Julia Roberts, a lot of wind and it's a lot of hair all over. The Oscars, it was smaller, but it was bigger. You know what I mean? You know, there was the tiara, there's a veil. It was also about her looking like herself. Sarah Jessica Parker, the piece was just so magnificent. She's so creative. You just get inspired by one another. I'm pretty lucky in my life with that. I'm really surrounded with amazing women, you know. And they all have that kind of strengths in common and they're trusting and, you know, they take you there. I remember the first time I did my first haircut. It was on my mom and I was 13 years old and I gave her that very Vidal Sassoon kind of thing and I thought, you know, in my memory, it looks amazing, but I think the reality of it maybe was not as good, you know, according to my father's reaction. I think I became a hairstylist at that moment. It kind of directed me in a place where I knew that that's what I wanted to be. It's funny. I actually remember when that picture was taken. I was born in Saint-Denis, right outside of Paris, in the north suburb of Paris. I was a very shy kid, quite introverted. I used to love knitting, I used to love reading books. I did love playing with hair very early on. I remember, like, you know, playing with my cousin's hair. Every time they were coming, I would always do braids and stuff. My mom, you know, we would wake up early in the morning, I would do braids on her, I would put it up. I just experimented on her. And my grandfather, with the most amazing hair. Why didn't I get that hair? Hair is something that moves all the time, that changes every 2 seconds. I love that always changing quality of things. I love that. When I was a kid, the references for me were TV, amazing American movies and the French movies. I mean, it was all there. Whether it was Catherine Deneuve in Belle du Jour movie, or it was, you know, Marilyn Monroe in another movie, or it was Audrey Hepburn. It was just like that whole kind of glamour that I felt. It was just the most beautiful thing. There's something about the smell of a hair salon that I always loved. I loved the smell of the shampoos and the products. And when I was a kid, I used to get my hair cut in one salon. And I always, on my way to school, would walk in front of that salon. And the owner of the salon at one point knew that I eventually wanted to be a hairstylist. And I said, you know, at 15, I said, do you think I could try to be an apprentice there? And they said, yes. I was a very shy person. You have to also remember that. I was just extremely shy. So for some reason, I used the salon as almost like my stage. It was my happy place. He threw me right there, like, to cut and color and do highlights at the time, like, you know, not on clients, but, you know, with the co-workers. And so I did 3 years there, and then I moved to Paris. That was it. Never looked back. I hope you don't mind, we have a couple of cameras. Thank you. A friend of mine's friend was a very good friend with the photo director at French Elle. And I met with her, and she was a little intimidating. And she said, okay, show me what you do. And I did many of those till I had a portfolio. Great.
You're as famous as it gets anyway.
I wanted to come to the US for quite a while. I just wanted to see New York. I arrived here in, I think, 88 or 89. It was a great time in New York. I ended up meeting Laura Mercier, famous makeup artist, and we ended up living together. We shared an apartment. We didn't care about anything else but being creative. Laura was already working a lot with Steven Meisel, so through her I knew who he was. One day she said to Steven, why don't you call Serge and try to use him for one day? He used me. I ended up doing 2 Vogue covers at a time, Dolce & Gabbana campaigns. So by association, people thought I was amazing. Yeah, Julia. Yeah, I think that was for Bazaar, I think. Like just a simple tank top with sleek hair. I don't like one type of thing. Like, when someone says, you're known for big hair, I guess I've done some images that were with big hair and people noticed, but I've done lots of short haircuts and slicked hair and wet hair that I can, identify as much as with a picture with big hair. You know what I mean? But I embrace them all. I was working with LASKI, and she requested me to do a shoot with Julia Roberts. I was very excited. I loved the way her hair was in Pretty Woman. Her hair was amazing in it. I loved everything about it. So, I was already in awe. It's one of those things, we just clicked. With Julia, the way Julia evolves, I think it has to be comfortable no matter what. It has to be easy to maintain on some level and can't be contrived. Like, when we cut it really short, it was for the Mexican. It was short and reddish, and then we grew it longer for other projects. And I look at that picture of the Oscars and I still have chills. We never really did something that big in some ways. If you look at it from the front, it's basically a side part, right? When I look at everything that we've done so far, I'm just very happy with pretty much all the choices that we've made. Big hair again, back in the Marie Antoinette days, I guess. One of my favorite pictures also of Julia.
When is your magic hour?
Very early in the morning, and also when the sun sets. I'm lucky enough to live in an apartment where I have a great view of the Hudson River. And even though I don't always love to wake up that early, there's something about going to a shoot very early. There's just the beauty of the world that's still a little bit asleep. Everything is quiet. And then the sun comes up, and then, of course, the girl's hair and makeup, and then you make things happen. And there's a beauty of that. And then you're happy that you woke up just to see that, to be there. There's always something about the creativity on a shoot, for instance, that I found as exciting today that I was when I first got my first job at French Elle. I still get that feeling and that drive and that excitement. The day I won't have it anymore, I think I will stop. I always said the moment I feel like I will vegetate in doing what I'm doing, I will stop. I don't want it to become something that's not pleasurable. The product line for me is a different way to be creative, how to concoct things and how do I make them my own. And then I've done the two books, the women that have allowed me to really be creative, because without them I'd be nothing. Sarah Jessica Parker, we met, she was going to host the MTV Movie Award. It was a show where she had to do 13 changes. One of the first time I worked with her, we did like a humongous braid. We wrapped. She's very creative that way. She's a risk taker. The last time I worked with her was for American Idol cover. She had that kind of shaggy haircut, long, dead straight. Diana, I used to work with her as a model. Yeah.
As a model?
When she was a model, not when I was a model. The hair was left a little loose, and it had that little looseness, and when she went out of the shirt and the wind picked it up, it's everything that I love. So I was just very excited. I was like a little boy. Making someone feel good never really leaves you. I still remember when I first cut my mom's hair at 13 years old, and looking at her in the mirror with that rounded haircut that I thought was the most amazing thing I had ever seen. And my mom was, had a job at the time. She had to look presentable. She took a really big chance on me on that day, And it's like her love let me do that. It's all about love and respect, and it's all about being inspired by people you are surrounded by. And that's the only way I want to live my life, and that's the only way I've known. If I meet a client, for the first time, I want her to feel like she's welcome. I want her to feel like she's welcome in my chair, and I want her to feel that she's been appreciated. When someone leaves my chair, regardless of who that is, and I know that I've made a little bit of a difference on that day, it's an amazing feeling to have.